Today on the Generational Gamer, we have the 8BitDo M30 2.4 GHz wireless gamepad for the Sega Genesis. Alright, let's open this thing up. And there it is. There's the controller. There's the dongle. It's kind of small, and we'll just put that to the side for right now. That is the micro USB cable for charging. The controller actually has a decent amount of heft to it. The D-pad is really good, the buttons are really good. Comparing it to an original Sega Genesis 6-button controller, I mean, you've got the D button, you've got the 6 buttons. The controller is considerably lighter than the 8BitDo controller. Put that aside and look back at this one again. And I can tell you this one is a bit more comfortable. I like the Saturn style, and I think the button layout is just more comfortable. We're going to use virtual racing on the 32X, and hit point's going to drive. How's the control feel?
It feels fine. It's just, I've never been that good at this game.
Three, two, one, go!
The buttons on the controller do exactly what you would expect them to. If I want to move the car in a certain direction, the D-pad works just fine. If I want to make the car do something, one of the buttons that interacts with the car does what it's supposed to do when I press it on the controller. What could be a better test than a game I played almost exclusively when I first got this system? So we're going to give Sonic 1 a try, okay? Do yourself a big favor and make sure that you configure this controller properly. Before I had it set right, which is nothing more than holding the home button down and waiting for the lights to stop blinking. But before I was able to do that, this thing did not control at all. Also be mindful that you can change this from a 6-button to a 3-button controller with relative ease. Basically, you just hold down that home button for 3 seconds, and it should convert it from a 6-button to a 3-button controller. What we have here is a collection of every 8BitDo controller sitting in the house. We have the original NES controller. It was modified for DIY. It feels exactly as it should. It's a phenomenal controller. This is not one of my originals. This is one that was broken and was just given to me, so I figured it was a perfect candidate for modification. This one right here is for the classic console. I love it, except it's got these turbo buttons, the D-pad, and all the other buttons feel exactly the same as the original NES controller. Far better, I might add, than the NES classic controller that it came with, because the D-pad on that thing is really squishy. This one right here is for the SNES. It came with the dongle, everything was there, didn't have to do anything with it. Just plug it in and works. It's awesome, I love it. It feels every bit like its original counterpart. The only difference is it's wireless. Same deal with this one, but this one's for the SNES Classic, and it feels just as much like an original SNES controller as any other SNES controller. And the big advantage is it doesn't have a squishy D-pad like the one the SNES Classic came with. Now this was an original 6-button controller with a DIY kit. It's really good for Street Fighter because it's got all 6 buttons, and overall it's a really good controller. As a kid, I never used this because I always had 3-button controllers. But I wanted a wireless Sega Genesis controller, so I went with this route. Before this was ever on the horizon. This is definitely better. I like the D-pad better. I like the fact that it's got all these buttons and you can do more things with it. It's even got the L and R, which is something the other ones do not. To set it, it's as simple as holding down the... Here, let me move in a little closer. It's easy as setting the home button, which is this minus button right here. You hold it, this little light will blink. It'll match the blinking on the dongle that's connected directly to the Genesis. And then once it's set, you're good to go. If you want to hold it for 3 seconds, it'll switch it between 6-button mode and 3-button mode. That's all I got. Great thing. Go buy it. You'll like it. Have a good one.